Hi, this is Bethany Barnard, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and I've been working on a series of projects using the Window Wishes bundle, which is available in our July to December mini catalog. I believe that this is project number 6 that we're working on, and when I filmed project number 2, I did go into some detail about why I believe that the Window Wishes stamp set and dies are a worthwhile set to purchase, not just for Christmas, although it's great for Christmas because I think you'll see in my series, which are all Christmas cards, that you can make such an assortment with the same set. But also I hope to add some more to the series when I'm done of cards that can virtually be used year round. The beauty of this with the 20 stamps is that you have car, house, trees, candles, and with the dies that come with it, you also get this window die. So I just think there are lots of options of cards that can be made throughout the year, and I hope to add some of those to the series at the end. But for right now, we've just been working on projects that I did in my Christmas in July, which was now 2 months ago. And I'm putting up the projects that we made at that time. Now, this project that we're going to do today on this video was definitely one of the favorites. Now, it's got a rather plain outside, I agree, but when you open it, you see it's got a 3D window that kind of opens up. And you've got as if you're on the inside of the house with a swag over the window and candles in the window. And then you have the image of what you might see out a window. And then of course you can sign it here. But this card folds flat and fits in our medium envelope. So it really was one of the favorites. It's an easy card to do, and I'm excited about taking you through that. I did make 1 or 2 changes on this card, and I haven't made it together yet, but I'm thinking it will work. I use soft succulent cardstock as a mat here, and I've switched that up to match the ink here, which is the Evening Evergreen. And the reason I did soft succulent on the front initially was because I used soft succulent paper here, but then I stamped with the Evening Evergreen. So that's what I'm gonna stick with this time, is just go ahead and keeping this, because on the outside, really this is the only green that shows. I'm gonna use the Evening Evergreen. Okay, I'm gonna take you through all of the pieces that we needed for the cards. And if you're like me, you can just stop and start the video, which is what I do when I'm watching somebody else and making one of their cards. Or you can write them down, but I'm gonna put up measurements as well. I began, so that this video wouldn't be too long, by already stamping and die cutting the swag. So I've stamped it twice, and you'll see why as we go along. So I stamped it, as I said, on the soft succulent in the Evening Evergreen. I punched out 2 bows. That's one of the dies that comes with the set. And then the candles, which they also have a separate die for the flames. So I stamped the candles in real red, and I cut the flames out from the Mango Melody cardstock. But as I was cutting out my bows, I noticed that these centerpieces that get punched out kind of look like flames, right? So I did. I went ahead and I cut out 2 bows in the Mango Melody, and I'm gonna make these flames come up a little higher, which you can do if you'd like to. All right, I'm gonna set that aside. And here are the other pieces that you will need. Okay, so this is designer series paper, and it certainly doesn't have to be this one, but this is from the Santa's Express, and it says fa la 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 all the way across. I particularly liked this for the front. You need to cut out 3 3/4 by 4 3/4, but I would have you pay attention to whether or not there's directional importance to when you cut. Because this says fa la 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 la, and it wouldn't make sense this way, I've cut it at the short end here 3 3/4, and then the long end 4 3/4 here. And then I have the mat for that, which, as I said, I switched from the soft succulent to the evening evergreen piece, and that's cut at 4 by 5. And then I took this white Popular scalloped contours from the die. This here, 15560, is the item number if you were to order it. And then I have this glimmer paper, which again, this can be found in our mini catalog. It comes with 2 other colors as well. And I've cut this at 2.5 by 3.5. But it's really just a scrap. We're going to be tearing this away, but you do want the width of 3.5 inches. Okay, then we're going to have 2 pieces of basic white, and they're close in their sizing, so you want to be careful. This one is 3.25 by 5, and this one is 3.5 by 5.25. And you want to keep them separated because this one is what we're going to do most of the stamping on, and this one's going to end up being the inside to the card where you would sign your name. So you have 3.25 by 5 and 3.5 by 5.25. You're going to need, now I use the soft seafoam cardstock for this, and I just think that's such a pretty soft color, and it goes well with the greens. So this is a card front size, 4.25 by 5.5, and it literally will be just a card front. And you'll see that as we put the card together. And then finally, this is, and I do have it written up bigger here. So it starts out as 9 by 5.5, and then you score it at 1/2, 4.25, 4 3/4, and then again at 8.5 inches. And then once you have scored this 9 by 5.5 piece, then you're going to take, what I used was the rectangle squares, and this one measures about 3 by 4 3/8. And you can find the stitched rectangles as well as those contour dies that have that scalloped rectangle are both found in the annual catalog. Okay, so once you have all of the scoring done, then you're going to have 2 panels that are equal size. It won't matter which one you cut the rectangle out of, but you just cut it in the center and cut out one on one of the sides. But when we put it together, we can either turn it this way or we can turn it this way. So it won't matter. You don't have to worry about that. Just put the die in one of those larger rectangles that we have left without score marks. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Alrighty, so I'm going to get the sample card here, and the first thing we're going to do is actually do the card front. So here's my piece that's 4.25 by 5.5, and I'm going to put the Designer Series paper on it. Nope, not yet. I'm going to put the Evening Evergreen paper on it. And I'm just going to center that right on the front. I have a quiet house today, so I'm trying to get this video up before the weekend. So best you can, you just want to, and this does have a larger border than normal with our cards. A lot of times we just will do the border 5.25 by 4, but I've actually made this one 5 by 4. I like that wider to show that green, which is going to carry on through. Now we can add our Designer Series paper. And this is the other side of that Santa's Express paper. So many nice papers this year. I used paper from this DSP packet on several of my projects throughout this series. Fun colors, fun images. And I just like the idea of fa la 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 in the background. But that might be because I have a sister named Holly. And you might be thinking, what does that have to do with it? But you know, deck the halls with boughs of holly. We used to sing that to her all the time. Okay, so we're gonna start with From Our Heart to Yours. Again, all of the dies and all of the stamps that I'm using are part of this bundle. Well, I say all of the dies, not the ones that do rectangles, obviously, but otherwise, yes. So I'm going to put, I love the way this From Our Heart to Yours is sort of in a semicircle, which makes it perfect to then add the wreath. So I'm using the Evening Evergreen and the wreath. And you might wonder about when you cut out the wreath, how will you know where the top is? Are you going to turn that die around and around in order to be able to die cut that? But they actually have a piece on the top that shows you where the top of the wreath is on both the, well, I noticed that it's this one little piece at the top here, and then you can match that up with your die. And hopefully when you have them in your hand, you'll see what I mean. Okay, so now we can do Merry Wishes. Put that on here, and we're going to do that in the red as well. And we're going to do something else to the front of this at the very end, which I haven't done to this one, but I intend to. So just center that, put it underneath. And it really is a simple, sweet card front, but the hope is that when they display these cards, it's not going to be the front of the card, but rather the inside cover. All right, so we're going to add this on top, and then we'll be able to just put our card front aside and work on the rest of the card. Actually, once you've done the prep work, this card goes together pretty quickly. Because one of the things I like about this set is the dies are what we call bold, so you don't have to color them in. And they are some of my favorites just because they are quicker when it comes to making a card. All right, so I'm gonna add this little bow. In one of my other projects, I wondered, do bows go on the top or the bottom of a wreath? You know, you see them, or on the side. Everybody has their preferential placement, I'm sure. And I find that it depends on my card itself where I'll end up putting this bow. But there we go, that's on the front. And now I'm going to put that aside. And now we're going to work on, stamping this centerpiece, which would be the larger of the two basic white pieces. So it's 3.5 by 5.25. So I'm going to take that one off. This is the one where we're going to do the stamping of what happens on the inside. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to start by stamping the house pretty much right in the center of your card. And I'm using Blushing Bride. It's probably one of my, if you've watched all the projects, this and Bermuda Bay are like my two favorite colors for the house. So yeah, right in the center, maybe a little bit down from the center goes the house in that Blushing Bride. And then we're going to put the roof on with Smoky Slate. And we have a separate stamp for the roof, which means that you can easily make them different colors, but you'll notice you don't have to color anything in because this is all done for you. The next thing we're going to do is add a tree next to the house in soft suede. And you're probably not going to see the 2/4 inch toward the end, so I like to put this really right next to the house. And you can stamp right over the house with this soft suede. And then we're going to put in 2 of the evergreen trees. Now there's 2 stamps. One has 2 trees on them and one has 1. We're going to use the one with the 2. And we are going to stamp them, of course, in Evening Evergreen. Now I stamped the ones in here with the soft succulent, but I changed my mind on this one and decided I would do it in the Evening Evergreen. So I'm just going to put these here. There we go. That's nice and dark. Okay, next are the snowflakes. And I'm doing those in Balmy Blue. I prefer to stamp off before I do the Balmy Blue, so I kind of just get into a rhythm. Ink, stamp, stamp. Ink, off, stamp. You know what, I'm saying that I like it better this way, but now I'm thinking they don't really come up as much, so I am going to do a combination of both. Okay, so that's all my straight on, and now I'm going to do something like this. The best way to remember to stamp off is really to kind of get into a pattern like this. Okay, now I'm not going down further, and you'll see that that's because that's where I'm going to put my glimmer paper, which is like the pretty snowbank. But I hope you can see just how quickly this card is coming up. Now I kind of, need to take off my Post-it note here. I don't know if you can see that the house kind of comes down at a slope here. So I want my trees to show, but I want my house at a slope. So I kind of tore it that way. And in order to give you enough, like on the back, I've gone about 1/8 of an inch beyond this. So I'll just trim that off. But that way I'm able to kind of have that slant go right where the natural slant of the house is. In fact, when you're lining the house up and you want to be sure that it's straight, my recommendation is you look at the side and make sure that the side of the house is straight rather than the bottom, because that's covered in a snowbank or a hill, whichever kind of card that you're working on. Okay, here we go. I already have one of my customers who's decided this is going to be her Christmas card this year. And I thought she had a great idea. She's going to put a family photo just loosely in so that when you open it up, you see the family photo in there. But then but it's going to be easy to take out. And then when they take it out, they'll have this other image there as well to see. And I thought, oh, what a great idea. I love it when somebody takes one of my ideas and makes it better. Okay, so I am going to just trim this off. And as I can't see my scissors right by me, that's one thing I didn't double check on. I'm going to reserve that for later and keep my eyes peeled and get that at another time. Okay, so when we put this card together, it's important that we close it on the left here. So right side up for your card image is with the window on the right. I hope that makes sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this card in, and then we're going to glue. You've got glue that you can put here, or if you prefer tear and tape. And then we're going to just fold it flat, because it's important that this will fold flat and go in the mail. But see, then when it opens, it's going to come up like this. So that's how we're doing that. And look, I knew it would happen. So I found my scissors, which were right in front of me. And I'm going to just trim this off here at the bottom. So that's why, you know, when you take a scrap to make your glistening snow hills, you might want to have a little bit more than you need so that you can put the placement exactly how you'd like it on your card. Okay, there we go. So now making sure that the closing part is on my left of the card. That's like really important. Otherwise your card will open and the inside will be upside down. I have made a card upside down before. I don't know anybody who's stamped for any length of time who hasn't done that once. But they always have that perfect recipient who's going to appreciate an upside down stamped card. Okay, so basically you're going to just put this right inside, and it gives you about a 1/16 of an inch border all the way around. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and put glue here. Love this multi-purpose. I actually prefer it almost always to the tear and tape, because the tear and tape, honestly, it's not as strong as that when you're doing cardstock to cardstock. It's just not as strong. So there we go. I like to bend it both ways to make sure it's working that way, but you can see how that's become a little window. Next, we're gonna take one of these stamped and die cut swags, and we're gonna just glue it over the window here. Now, you have just a little bit of edge on either side, and you wanna make sure this is down far enough. So the danger is that you'll put too much glue on it, but I'm looking at it and I'm realizing these bits on the outside here are gonna land on the cardstock, so I'm gonna put just the thinnest bit of glue there. I know the center of this is gonna be above the window, and then just the bits that stick out the most on this side are getting a bit of glue, because you don't want this to stick shut. You kind of want to cover up the corners as best you can. There we go. And then once you have the placement, go ahead and put it flat. And then, yeah, hopefully you haven't glued it to the inside image, which I have not. Okay, so that's good. And now I'm going to stick a bow at the top there. I just love the candles in the window. And I think that's what makes this set, well, it's not the candles alone, but just the variety of stamps in the set, so that you can do, I mean, you could do a whole card just based around greenery and the candles. In fact, I'm going to show you that next, because we're going to put the candles right here. So I'm just going to do a little line of glue right on the very bottom, just a straight line of that glue on the very bottom. You know what? I got a little bit of room, so maybe I'm going to do a little bit more. Okay. I should have probably put my candles on already, but the flames is what I mean, because obviously these are the candles. Okay, so here are my flames. These are the ones that come with the dies. There's a separate die. Doesn't it look like a crown too, though? Oh, I can see that happening. A crown, put another one underneath, and yep, you could put a crown on your some of your animals. That's, you know, I'm thinking of the piggies or the hippos if you got those during celebration. Oh guys, look what I did. I put it on the wrong side, and we can't have that. I have a spare one of these I'm gonna get out, because I don't want to take a chance on those here, and this way I can show you what I mean about a crown. It actually just came to my mind, so we can check and see if in my head really works the way I'm thinking. But see, like if you then put two more here, doesn't that look like a crown? Oh, it definitely does. Okay, so don't make the mistake I did where I put the glue on the back. You actually want the glue on the front, because you're going to put this behind the candles like this, and just make sure they're centered. You see how that goes? Not so neat. So now you have the candles in your own windowsill as you look out to your neighbor. But as I said earlier in this video, when I cut out those bows and saw what looked like flames, I decided I'm going to make those flames just a tad bit bigger. Maybe I don't know, I was going to say part Texan and like everything bigger, but that's a joke from when I lived in England and what they thought of Americans. Not that they didn't love us, but that everything's bigger over here, especially in Texas. Actually, I always say that about my husband. Whenever I tell him I would like something, you know, just a dainty little gazebo, for example, his idea is to then go out and buy the biggest, you know, I'm thinking of, I don't know what you call that, but like carport that you put a car under, and it can be ugly, but it's huge. And it's like, no, I want dainty and pretty. So I sometimes think guys think the bigger the better. Anyway, I'm rambling, but I hope that's okay. I certainly meant no offense to any Texans. My son lives in Texas. My brother lives in Texas. My stepmother lived in, I got lots of family in Texas. So love them all. Okay, so another thing that I think is so neat about this is that we can take pieces of this off, and you'll see I've done that in some of the earlier videos as well. And then you can put them underneath the candle like this. And you've got a little bit of greenery there as well. And I'm just going to decide which way I like this better. I don't know. I can't decide. Do I like it better like that? I think so. So now I'm going to put some glue on it. I did in an earlier project with the staircase, I turned this all into swags that go down the side of the banister of this staircase. So I don't want you guys to miss out on this great stamp and die that allows us to do that. Got a little bit of glue here that my eraser will get up later. Oh, maybe it's not even glue. All right, so then we'll put that to the side. Very happy with this so far. Okay, now we have our card front. And all we do is, this is where we put the seam to close this window card. So we're going to put glue on the outside now, and then we're going to just put this right over it. Isn't that simple and easy? Again, you can use that tear and tape if you have trouble with the liquid glue, but liquid glue remains my favorite anyway. Okay, so I've put some glue on the side. And then we'll put this over it. And see, this is the kind of wiggle room you get with the liquid glue that you don't get with tear and tape, which is one reason why I think it's fabulous. There we go. And then you just want to make sure before you open it that it really is set. And it doesn't take that long. Even though you get that wiggle room, it really doesn't take that long. So now you can open it up, and you see it opens up to that card inside. Just love it. It's not good to brag on your own creations, is it? But I am happy with it. Okay, so we now have this last piece, which is 3 1/4 by 5. And it's where we're going to stamp our inside verse, which again comes with the stamp set. And it says, "May happy moments and wonderful memories be yours this season." And we are going to stamp that also in red. Put this here. Who's going to get these special cards at Christmas? I do have people who look forward to which card they're going to get, and then you feel like you're always every year trying to make sure that you live up to the year before, right? Again, being photopolymer, these are so easy to see through. And I think I just did trees. Yep, I just did a pair of trees in the corner with a little sprinkle of snow over the top. So that's what I'm going to do now as well. And here are my double trees down here. There we go. And then in my balmy blue, we'll do just one stamp of snowflakes. Woo. Which, I don't know if you can tell, but there's kind of like two places where the trees can just kind of fit in, and you can do the snow over them. So that's kind of perfect for that. And now you're going to take that piece and you're just going to center it in there. Now, the reason I made this smaller than that usual, what ends up being 1/8 of an inch, but 1/4 inch less, you know, your finished measurements. But anyway, I did give a 1/4 inch border rather than the 8 inch because that's closer to what's going on the right, and I just thought it looked better. Okay, so here we go. And we are just about finished this card. I hope you will seek to follow this. I would love it if you don't have a demonstrator, if you would consider buying from me. You can find me on Facebook at Stamping in the Barnyard. And of course, my name is Bethany Barnard and I live in Florida, and I would love, if you like this card or any of the other cards I've done in this series, to consider giving me a sale. You can, on top of this, you could add some Wink Stella to make things sparkle a little bit. But last but not least, I'm going to show you what I've done with some of the other cards. In fact, I have done it already on the inside of this card, but I'm not sure how much you can see it. But there's like little red enamel dots, and that's from this Pearlized Enamel Effects. And it comes three in a order. I don't know if that makes sense. 3 in a package, but one's red, one's white, and one's silver. And it's very easy to use. I really enjoy it, but it does take a while to dry. So I'm gonna just do the outside of these cards now, and then I will do the swag inside tomorrow once this has dried. But I think this is really fun stuff. And you can see I just don't really have a method to my madness there. I just put some berries around it. So there are the 2 cards, once again, with them open. And I just want to say thank you very much for watching.